Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and happy Monday, the world. If you don't know who I am, my name is Johnny Joe Jimenez. Most of y'all know me as FlyTripleJ. I am a Twitch streamer, TikTok creator, content creator, and a little social media influencer. Now, the reason I'm making this video is because I've grown a community and I have some followers, and they're minor, they're underage followers, under 18 years old. And I get a lot of questions in my DMs, especially when I go live stream. I get a lot of questions, what's on my nose and everything. So I wanted to do a testimonial type of video. So here it goes. Like I said, super nervous. But okay, so I'm 43 years old. I was born October 18. I'm a Libra. And then, life hasn't been easy for me. I have my ups and I have my ups and I have my downs. From the age that I was born to about 5 years old, I've been fighting chronic asthma. My mom would always tell me in and out of the hospital every single night when they would take me to the hospital. People at the hospital, the staff already knew us. Like, as soon as they walked in, they already knew what was going on with me and everything. Parents moved down south to Texas. The humidity was a lot more better for me, weather condition and everything. So I grew out of the asthma phase. I got better and everything, but I still faced a lot of life and tribulations, throughout my life. When I was about 3 years old, we went fishing. My dad threw in a fishing rod, told me to hold on to it. And while they were unpacking the vehicle, I was getting dragged into the river, and I had hooked into a nice, I think it was like a 20 to 30 pound catfish, was getting dragged into the river. And of course, when you're told, when you're a little kid, you're told not to let go. I didn't let go of the fishing pole. Then, fast forward a few years, we were in Lubbock, Texas. I say I had to be like 8 years old. We were at the mall in Lubbock, Texas. I separated from my parents. Well, a couple had found me, and back then I didn't know better. I didn't know nothing about it. But now, the way things are, I kind of had a feeling now that couple was trying to take me, like kidnap me, because they didn't take me to security, to the mall security or anything. They were like, they grabbed my hands and we were literally walking out the front door. But thankfully, my older brother and my cousin Felix, they saw me, they ran over, got me, and then, as most of you know, my parents were migrant workers. We used to go up north, work in the sugar beet field, the potato field, the pinto bean fields. So one year, finally convinced my dad, like, hey, let me work the fields with y'all and everything. That same day, we went to the Goodwill. He bought me some Army combat boots, because sometimes it gets muddy. These fields are 500 acres, anywhere between 200 to 500 acres big, half to a mile long. So first time working the pinto beans with my mom, my dad, and my big brother, and we stopped to get water, and all I see is my dad raise up his hand because he carried a machete, wow, right next to my leg, and I'm freaking out. And he told me move, so I moved. I had stepped on the head of a rattlesnake, and my mom still has the rattler of the rattlesnake. So, life was good. And like I said, life has been better. But back then I didn't know, I was being a kid, I didn't really care about my future. I didn't really care about anything. My dad left my mom, and then, my mom became a single mom with 3 boys. I tried to help out my mom as much as I could. But I was acting up too, I was acting stupid, making dumb decisions and everything. Then, we would go to church. But, when you're a little kid and, you see all your little friends go up there, to the church, and they're like, they're all accepting Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. You don't want to be left out. I went up there and I didn't, back then I didn't know the meaning of it. Well, fast forward, 2000, no, it was 1999. I was already out of the house. I met the mother of my child, of my kids. First kid I had was my oldest. 1999 when my oldest was born. 2 years later, in 2001, I had my second boy. Then in 2003, I had my last boy. And I was happy. I had my woman at the time. I had 3 boys. Life happens. We separated. And I told myself, I'm not gonna be like my dad, because when my dad left my mom, my dad wasn't really in our life. So I had decided I'm gonna be a part of my children's life no matter what. I took responsibility. I paid my child support. I would go pick up my kids and everything. I tried my best as much as I could. All my 3 boys graduated from high school. Super happy for them and everything. I'm super proud of them. Then 2018 hits. I get sick for the very first time. I ended up getting a UTI. UTI turned into a kidney infection. Kidney infection turned into a staph infection. I ended up going to like a urgent care, and they couldn't figure out why my potassium level was going up and everything. 30 minutes, didn't know what was going on. Then I finally told the nurse, hey, what's going on? Been here 30 minutes, no one told me anything. They're like, oh, we're waiting for transportation for you because we're shipping you to St. Luke's Hospital. If you're from San Antonio, Texas, St. Luke's Hospital is a hospital in the medical center. I was getting shipped from the Baptist urgent care in the south side by South Park Mall to St. Luke's Hospital. Well, finally, doctor said and came in, we're done. He's like, the reason we're trusting you because your potassium level keeps going up and we don't know why. And it was already like at 8.7, and that's super dangerous because potassium can really kill you because it could shut down everything. It can shut down all your internal organs and everything, and super dangerous if you have too much potassium in your body. Well, as soon as EMS get there to transport me to St. Luke Hospital, we had not even left the parking lot of the the urgent care hospital. I had got flatlined. They resuscitate me. We're halfway. We're on I-35 going out to the medical center. Halfway there, I go flatline again. I get resuscitated. We get to the hospital. They're transferred. They get me down off the ambulance. We're going past the emergency room straight to an ICU room. While they're transferring me from the gurney onto the hospital bed, I go flatline, but I was unconscious still. So when they shocked me the 3rd time, I felt the full shockness. And I was like, I yelled, whoa, what are y'all doing? They're like, oh my gosh, you're awake, you felt that? I'm like, yes. Nurses were coming in and out, doctors were coming out. Finally, a kidney specialist came in and said, has anybody checked? He looked at my work and he's like, has anybody checked a allergic reaction? So anybody that does, although the doctor's like, no, we didn't see that on the file or anything. We didn't see anything like that. He's like, well, y'all need to do this ASAP and everything. 10 minutes later, that specialist came in and goes, hey, potassium keeps rising and everything. I think I know why, but you're at 0.05 kidney function. You're almost at kidney failure. And I think I was like 33 at this time. And he told me, he's like, I'm not gonna let you. I'm gonna save your kidneys. And it's very unusual when you have a doctor say that he promises. So he's like, I promise you're not going on dialysis. You're too young to go on dialysis. I spent 4 to 5 months at the St. Luke's Hospital recovering. He was able to save my kidneys. What had happened is my primary doctor, when he was giving me antibiotics to fight the UTI, the kidney infection, the staph infection, they gave me a very old antibiotic that was made back in the 50s, very potent. It's called Bactrim. But what we didn't know is that the Bactrim enhanced one of my medication. I had a medication. It was a water pill that would deplete my sodium. My sodium, the magnesium, but it also would retain the potassium, which we didn't know that. So, I was taking 800 milligrams of potassium already because I needed to, and then I was eating bananas like crazy, so that's the reason my levels kept rising. So in those 5 months that I was recovering there, I'm not gonna lie to you, it was hard because my mom didn't know how to get there. The only people that could bring my mom was my little brother at the time, but he was busy working. And I wasn't mentally strong at that time. I'm not gonna lie, sorry. Parent advisory or parent warning. I did try to take my life while I was at St. Luke's Hospital. I'm pretty sure my mom never knew that. Nobody knows that. Only a few people knew that. My mental state was not there. So after I recovered and everything, I went back to work, and then I started gaining weight because I used to work overnight. I used to work overnight shift. When you work overnight, it's not healthy because, we're, drinking a lot of, sodas just to get by, all the caffeine, all the sugar. Then, I would get out of work at 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, go eat breakfast, and go lay down. It wasn't a good thing. 2020, a new chapter in my life started. I met some very helpful and very, I still hold them dear to my heart. Their names are Gina Grace and Sean Clark. They formed a workout group, and I joined their workout group. Very amazing people. They helped me get my life back on track. Started working out with them, started eating correctly. They were teaching me how to eat correctly. And of course, they introduced me to a supplement which I still use to this day. It's called, and this is not a brand deal, just this supplement worked for me. It was called Herbalife Nutrient, and it worked because I think when I met them, I was literally at 575 pounds and had dropped all the way down to 395. Everything was going great. Then pandemic hit, lost my job at the hotel. And by God's grace and the great heart that Gina Grace has, she had a flower shop, and she's like, hey, you want to help me out during the pandemic? Help me out the flower shop, deliver some flowers. I'll help you out, as much as I can until your unemployment situation gets resolved and everything. And she did. And even when I got my unemployment resolved, she let me stay and help her out and everything. So Gina Grace, Sean Clark, the Fly family, and I call her Mama Helen. She's she's a co-owner of the Floral Basket Shop off of Bandera Road. We would work out there. We would have our Bible studies there. I got closer to God through them as well. And, but when I had to get a job because my unemployment, ran out, I got a job with Apple. I was working like 12 to 15-hour shifts, and I wasn't able to be around them as much as I wanted to because I was working so much. Well, because since I was stationary at home, working from home, 15-hour shifts on the computer and everything, not being mobile and everything, for whatever reasons, some illnesses creeped up, which kept me from working full time. And then 2022, beginning of 2022, I ended up getting COVID. 2 years since COVID hit in 2020. My mom never got it. We never went to the stores. We ordered everything online, products through Amazon, groceries through the HEB delivery app. Don't know how I got it. I ended up getting it, and I ended up going to the hospital January 9th. I ended up going to the hospital, and this is where I got more closer to God than I already was. When I went into that emergency room, it was me and 4 other people. I was literally written off that night. They were paying attention and taking care of those other 4 people who went in more than me because I was not vaccinated. I end up falling asleep and I end up having a dream. No images, just a voice. I keep hearing a voice that told me, it's not your time, it's not your time. And out of nowhere, all I heard of the voice said, it's time for you to wake up. I woke up, first thing I did, I said, thank you, God, I'm still alive. Thank you for giving me another day of life. Nurse walks in and she's like, she had seen a ghost. She dropped her little tablet or thing she was writing on, and I'm like, are you okay? Because she had this look like, she's like, you're awake. I was like, what do you mean am I awake? She's like, let me just be honest with you. We literally didn't think you were going to not make it through the night. You fell asleep. You were the only one that not vaccinated. She's all like, the other 4 people that came in when you came in, they all passed away through the night. You're the only one that made it through the night. And that's when I just stayed silent, and I was thinking in my head, I was like, that was God talking to me. When I tell this story, a lot of people don't believe me, but I said that was God talking to me, telling me that it wasn't my time. And while I was in the hospital recovering for the whole year, I was trying to figure out what was my purpose of still being here alive. And when I got back home, I got released in December of 2022, a few days before Christmas. Told my mom the story about it, about my dream and everything. And she said, well, God has you here for a reason. I knew that, but I couldn't find a purpose. Why does he still have me here alive? What can I offer the world? Because by then I was already on oxygen 24/7. At nighttime, I sleep with a life support ventilator that I have right here. It's a little machine. It's just like the big one at the hospital, but portable. And I was like, what can I offer people? I can't go out. I can't travel because I don't have, I'm stuck on this oxygen machine 24/7. And I was like, what can I start? Then I started streaming on Twitch, started playing games and everything. Then people would see me on camera. They're like, what's going on? I started telling my story. And I started inspiring people. People were reaching out to me. They're like, hey, bro, man, I saw you. I heard your story. I see that you keep pushing. You're so positive. Even though you have everything bad going on in your life, you're so positive. And you inspire me. I've had a few kids tell me that they wanted to end their life, but when they see me, they're like, man, if this man, through everything he said he's gone through, and he's still pushing here, trying to bring positivity into this world, try to inspire people, and what do I have to complain? And for me, that's been the most inspiring and most motivation that I've ever had, When I was working out with Gina Grace and Sean Clark, they inspired me a lot. I got back on track, got my health back. I had lost weight. I had people in the workout community that told me, you're my hero. But when I got sick and I couldn't do that anymore, not that I lost faith, it's just like the whole darkness of knowing that I can't go out and be with my friends, can't go out like I used to go to the stores. I'm stuck in my apartment 24/7. The only time I get to leave is when I go to my appointments. And I don't know if you can see, I think I can. Back there, I have oxygen tanks. Right there. Yeah, right there. Those oxygen tanks are only good for 2 hours. They only give me enough to go to my appointments and come back. And barely. And, and I do get depressed at times. And I get, I suffer from depression. I suffer from anxiety. Suffer from PTSD, because when your doctor tells you if you don't wear that mask at night, you may not wake up in the mornings. That scared my mind. But when I started, when people said I inspired them, and then people listened, and when people told me, bro, if God talked to you, this is your calling, telling your story, telling people how God is so amazing, how God, kept you here for a reason. And this is why every morning I try to put out a prayer message in the morning. Then, I try to, when I do stream, the first thing I always say, everybody, thank you. Thank God for waking us up. Thank God for, being here. And people always ask me, how you feeling today? I'm feeling great. God let me wake up. God let me be here with you, chilling and everything. What more do you want? Hey, all of us go through something bad in life. We all have our trouble past, or we all have trouble in the present and everything, but you got to make the most of it, But what a lot of people don't do nowadays, they don't put God first. They don't leave everything in God's hands. I put God first. I leave everything in God's hands. And my success right now, I give it all to the glory of God, because when I decided to be positive, when I decided to leave a positive influence in this world, to leave a positive footprint, that's why, yes, I kind of, I'm a sinner. I still cuss, I still swear, I say some out of pocket stuff that I shouldn't, but my main way, like when I talk to someone, I always tell them, you gotta put God first. You got to, because with God, everything's possible. Without God, then, you're not going to do nothing. Like I had a kid reach out to me. I'm not going to say his name. I think he was like 11 years old. Told me he didn't want to be here anymore. And I said, why don't you want to be here anymore? He was all, because I'm being bullied. People, I'm a chubby kid and everything. I told him, dude, look at me. I'm 43 years old. I get bullied all the time on the internet. People's like, oh, man, why don't you go walk around? If I wasn't stuck to this, I would be walking around. I would be back on my grind, working out and everything. I do work out here. I have some restraint bands that I do. I do push-ups, but on the wall and everything. So I have to modify everything I do, but I do work out, but it's limited, But the reason I wanted to make this testimony is that no matter what you're going through in life, you got to leave everything into God's hands. Because if you don't, things are not going to work out for you, And also, to everybody who I see they're posting now, they're like, oh, man, dude, money is not everything. The reason stuff don't go good for people is because y'all pray to God and ask Him for money and stuff like that. No, God's going to give you what you need, not what you want, okay? And then also, don't use God it's like the song from Jelly Roll. Jelly Roll, I think it's like, when I need a favor, a lot of y'all only ask for favors when something bad is happening happening to you in life. Stop using God like a shot of tequila. Oh, he's not just there for the bad times. He's there for the good times. I thank God for the bad times too, because if it wasn't for the bad things that happened to me, I would have not embraced them more, loved them more. I wouldn't preach about him more, like, because he's here for the good times too. Like right now, these are the good times for me. I'm alive. I'm talking to y'all. I got to wake up this morning. That's the good times. But also when I'm sick and not feeling good or something's not going my way, I still talk to him either way. You got to talk to him all the time. He's the only person that's going to listen to you. And huge thank you to my mom. Everybody knows her, Mama Fly. Mama Fly is one of the strongest persons in the world I've ever met. When I got sick with COVID, I couldn't work. I wasn't getting Social Security benefits or anything. I fought 3.5 years to get my benefits going. Mama Fly carried the weight load for 3.5 years. She paid the rent, all the bills, helped me with my medical supplies when I didn't have health insurance or anything. And, for her at that time, she was 72 years old. She didn't have to be there and be helping me. She could have said, you need to find your own way. But the thing is, God gave her the heart. God gave her the power, the wisdom, the strength to carry both of us for 3.5 years. By the God of grace, I got my benefits going. But I also want to tell people, just because someone's on Social Security, man, doesn't mean we get tons of money. We don't. You gotta realize that. We are on a set income, and we have to stretch every penny out and everything. This is why I'm so humble and grateful when I get donations on my Twitch channel or on TikTok, when somebody gifts me items or stuff like that. I'm so grateful, because every little amount that helps, that is given to me, or any kind of brand deal, company sends me a product, I do promotion. Like, I had a brand deal, energy drink company sent me a few drinks. I did a video and everything. They sent me $100 Amazon gift card as a thank you. With that $100, I bought a vacuum cleaner that we needed, because we just moved into a new apartment and we haven't had carpet in 33 years. So I needed a vacuum cleaner, and this was before July's rent is up and everything. So I didn't have the money. My mom was already kind of low too and everything, but by the God's good grace, company said, we like your video, we like what you did. As a thank you, here's a $100 Amazon gift card. I bought a vacuum cleaner with it, So any kind of reward you get for anything, be humble for it, be grateful for it, thank God for it, because like I said, God's going to give you what you need, not what you want. Like right now, I've been, right now I got to figure out a way how to buy my mom a mini scooter, because she needs it, because my mom's knees are no good anymore, And then I reached out to my medical company, and then they will not cover a portable oxygen machine, the ones that are little, backpack and everything, so I could travel more. I gotta buy it out of the pocket. Cheapest one is like $3,500, But like I said, I'm just gonna keep grinding. I'm gonna keep telling my story. I'm gonna, keep putting God first and everything. And you never know, God may bless me with somebody reaching out and say, hey, you know what? We love your story. We love how you're trying to be a positive input into the world. Well, we want to pay for your mom's scooter, or we want to pay for your portable oxygen machine. And I'm not doing this for petty. I'm not doing this because I want donations or anything. I'm just doing it so people understand that just because you're disabled, you're sick, you suffer from whatever mental illness is, it's not life ending. You just push yourself, motivate yourself, inspire yourself, because you pushing forward and other people who may be in your situation, they see you pushing forward, it's gonna inspire them to do more. I am in a community of nothing but people who are disabled, and it was so depressing in there because, I would always hear them saying, "Oh man, I can't do nothing. I'm stuck in a way." I'm like, "Whoa, no." And I remember we had a community night, and I asked if I could speak, and they're like, "Yeah, sure." And I told them my story. I told them what's going on in my life, how I stream, how I been a positive influencer to a lot of young kids, even to adults and everything. And a lot of them now have started doing stuff, started motivating. Like I had this one young lady, she's like about 20 years old, was in a car accident. Now she's in a wheelchair and everything. She started knitting or crocheting, and she's making cute little dog outfits and everything. And, she started a e-commerce shop and everything, and people are buying from her and everything. She's like, "Oh my gosh," and she told me, "Man, Fly, you are so right, I should have never gave up on myself, but I was in a bad mindset and everything. You helped me out and everything." So guys, don't give up on yourself. Please don't give up on yourself. I haven't gave up on myself. Sometimes I want to give up on myself, but then, I put everything in God's hands, and God always finds a way to let me know. You're doing amazing. There's still a lot of people to reach out to. You still have a lot of people to inspire and motivate. I'm going to continue to do that until God needs me. So I want to thank everybody for your time. Thank you for all the love and support that you do show me. I really appreciate it and everything. Remember, don't lose hope. Don't give up on God. God will do amazing work for you. You got to believe in with him. You got to love him like you have to love him, like if he's your father, a family member and everything. Just don't try to talk to him when you're in a bad situation. Talk to him in the good times and the bad times. Believe in him, read the Bible. I have a digital Bible on my phone that I read. It gives me scripts every day, and then with that script, I type out a prayer. That's and then I put out those prayers, on my Facebook in the mornings, because I want everyone to read them and everything. So once again, thank you very much. Thank you, God Almighty, for letting me be here, for letting him share my story. Because if I got into the real details, this would have been like a 3-4 hour video. Try to make it as short as possible as I can. Appreciate y'all so much. I'm gonna try to upload this to Facebook. If it doesn't let me, and I'm gonna upload it to YouTube. Once again, thank you very much. I love every single one of y'all. God loves you. And until next time, and don't forget, if you woke up today, you already got the W. Peace.